be?
Yes. See, now I'm glad you are the second person right now. I got to give a shout out to my boy Jake, who I went to massage school with, because he was the first person to actually respond to the question that I posted on Facebook today. Got a whole lot of likes, which is annoying when you ask a question. Hey, is my ass fat? No, I need to know because I'm about to go out. But yes, Trey, tell me what you're feeling on the question, and please state the question if you will.
The question that I read on Facebook profile was, are you the you that you feel you were meant to be? Mm-hmm. And I don't know, when I read the question, it made me think. I was like, I have loved soccer since I was 6 years old. Okay, I've been playing in a league or organized soccer since I was about 8. Okay. I've always wanted to be a professional football player, and I am now a professional football coach as well. And when I say football, I mean the real football, football.
F-U-T. Football.
Football. And so, no, man, I'm living a good life, man. I love it.
Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Artist Exchange Live.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Starts now.
Brown.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't hear you.
It's right here.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you at first. I can hear you now. He's feeling a little lazy.
It's right, like it's literally. If I breathe, it'll be touching my lips, and I don't want to do that.
Right.
So today's show is an interesting show. It's kind of outside of the box for the Artist Exchange, but it's not. Because artists have real life situations and scenarios that sometimes lead to their creativity or lack thereof. But today's show we'll be having on a special guest. She'll be here shortly, and we'll be joining her in a conversation. Sometimes the titles that I give to the topics are a little like real, but that's because I'm a little real. And sometimes I don't like to find the right words to say the thing for things. Sometimes it's what it is what it is. So today's topic is survivor stories, and it's based around rape, molestation, and sexual assault. If you have a story or if you want to share your experience, you can call in anonymously or text in your story or your experience or your opinions on the topic. You can call in at 410-702-5657, or you can text in at 443-642-9403. You can also follow this conversation on live right now on YouTube. So definitely check it out. Join our page, the Artist Exchange fan page, as well as the group page on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow us, like us, share. Don't forget to comment. Join in the conversations that we post in the page. A lot of the updates and stuff that we'll have are always in our radio show fan page. So don't miss out on it. Like our Women's History Month competition. If you have a woman, a lady or a female, or however you want to address the Women's History Month crew, if you have a woman in your life that inspires you, give us her name. We'll put her name in a hat, and at the end of this month, we'll pick it out, and she'll win one of 3 prizes, baskets that we're giving away here on the Artist Exchange radio show in celebration of Women's History Month. I'm feeling a little blah.
You seem that way.
It's actually calm, but it's blah.
Just blah. Yeah, the way you moved the mic was like, all right, I moved it.
Because I felt like it was in my face. Like, I put it there, but it was like right here. I don't really like it in my eyesight because then I can't see. So, like I said, today's show it's not so much serious as it is informative. So Definitely call in and give your experience. And we also have some information for those people who may need help. If you are a person that you're dealing with suffered, I don't want to say suffer. We're gonna look forward.
Okay.
You've experienced
Okay.
Rape, molestation, or any type of sexual assault. You can definitely call in and just share your story if you just want to get it off your chest as a first step. But we have the National Sexual Assault Hotline number, and that's 1-800-656-HOPE. That's 1-800-656-4673. They have a lot of counselors and resources for you to be able to tap into no matter where you are. I had called and spoke with a couple people on the line. Even if you don't live in the United States, they still have people that resources that could help you wherever you are, or they can help you as long as you can reach them. They'll be able to aid you in whatever you may be going through. They don't specialize in any specific age range. Whomever calls is the person they talk to. They don't require that you give your information. There are people that are just there to listen or to give you assistance in any field or shape or fashion that you need it in. So that is another resource, the National Sexual Assault Hotline, 1-800-656-4673. That's 1-800-656-HOPE. And that is the National Sexual Assault Hotline. I try to do shows that are outside of the norm here, just to switch it up a little bit and really tap into the conversations that we have normally, but we don't normally get to know the backstory of a lot of people that come on here.
Right.
Because they tell you what they want to tell you.
Right.
But a lot of people have given circumstances, and you would never know what someone was facing unless they actually told you. So before you judge or before you put somebody into a box, really know the whole story. And
Or
it's
at
not
least
sure,
try to.
or at least try to.
Some people won't tell you the whole story. And
Right.
and just as being, there are things that are called triggers. People who have suffered sexual abuse or abuse in general suffer from triggers. There are things you can do, say, that in your mind don't mean anything, but in their mind it takes them back to a very terrible place. So if you get someone who freaks out, in your opinion, freaks out on you for something you think is small, there's something else that's there, and you have to think a little deeper, step inside someone else's shoes. I don't know what I did or said. I apologize. I didn't mean to offend you or hurt you. And then ask. If they're willing to tell you, they will, especially if it's someone you have to work with or deal with on a regular basis. You don't want that kind of bad blood. So tonight's a good opportunity for you to learn how to maybe broach the subject.
Right. And just in general, it is not your business.
True.
Because some people feel the need to just know what's going on in somebody's world.
Right.
And I said when I started this radio show, it would never be about prying. So I don't do a lot of national entertainment news. I don't care. Like certain things that have topics that are relatable to anybody, I'll touch on it.
Right.
But
or theater
right.
right.
Or the arts in general. But I find that especially people who dealing with stuff like this, it's already a battle within their mind, whether or not they should tell somebody. But the reason that you feel the need to know is the reason that people don't often tell you their business, because in your need to know something, you're making it about you. You're not telling me this, and it's not your business. And if somebody does trust you enough to say something, you have to take it and be able to deal with it, but it's not your business. So just know that everybody who is disgruntled is not because they want to be disgruntled, but they may be dealing with something on that day. So I always approach people in terms of how I want to be approached in life. And today's show will give you a little bit more insight. We'll be sharing some stories. Hopefully you can relate to them, and you feel the need. If you feel the need to tell your story, definitely give us a call again at 410-702-5657. Then just going to the left, we'll get more into that conversation in the third segment of this show. But right now we have some updates on the Artist Exchange and Be Exposed. the artist exchange is slowed down for this month. We're not doing as much. There won't be a See Baltimore tour this month, only because we were late last year. But we'll jump right back into it in April, and we'll do another event that we're actually planning. But for this month, we are doing the Actors Playground at the UB Blake Center. That's the 29th of this month. And remember, it's the last Tuesday of every month. This month's feature is Joshua Dixon. He's a phenomenal actor. And he'll be joining us actually here on the Artist Exchange radio show on the 28th, I believe. On the 28th. No, the 18th. I'm sorry, I'm lying. On the 18th of this month, Joshua will be joining us. And then the following week, he'll be featuring at the Actors Playground. Again, the Actors Playground, it's just an open mic, not just, but it's mainly an open mic for actors and people who want to be actors and dramatic individuals to get up and do a monologue of their choice. You can do poems too, but they have to be dramatic. You have to add that flair. Right. Go in. Yeah, go in. We're not just trying to find love here. We just want to, embrace the theatrical arts. And we'll be branching out a little soon. We're going to get a couple more playgrounds under our belt, and then we'll start doing workshops and eventually some retreats where we can actually get some real good theater training going on in. And we want it to be a learning environment and not just another place to come and chill. So that'll be the 29th of this month. Doors open at 7:00 sharp. Be on time. And we'll start with a warm-up and go right into the open mic and transition right into the feature for that one, which is Joshua Dixon. Also, here at Be Exposed Radio, this is actually the 10th year that we're in for Be Exposed. Look out for some awesome updates for this summer. We'll be celebrating actually a little bit earlier during the summertime. So we'll have some details. Probably the end of next week, we'll have more details about that. We'll be doing an open house here on April the 2nd from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. The Artist Exchange will go on as normal. And then right after that, each hour, we'll have a new group of personalities join us, and they'll be able to come in. If you are a business or somebody who will be interested in sponsoring, so on and so forth, come on out. We'll give you some airtime on the mic, and she'll and you'll be able to come on and meet the other personalities on the show. Meet me and Amma if you've never met us in person, and you'll get to meet all the other personalities on the station as well, and get some airtime if you want to promote your business or your service or your event, so on and so forth. Or you just want to get on the air. If you ever thought about having your own radio show, you can definitely come out that day, and we'll let you sit in. And we're doing kind of like a marathon style here from 12 to 5 p.m. We won't have a guest that day here on the Artist Exchange, but it'll all be this melting pot of artists and personalities and so on and so forth. So definitely lock that in. Come on down, 12 to 5. We got some refreshments, maybe a little cocktail hour. It's a little early.
Some massages.
Maybe, just maybe. We got some surprises in there for you. So definitely come on out for that. And then the 16th of April, we'll actually be doing another art party. Be Exposed will be hosting that. So more details on that will be after this weekend. So we'll be putting that out there. But definitely lock your calendar for the 29th of this month and the 2nd of April. So all that being said, and then we have another RL Live Artist Exchange event the first Thursday of next month. So come on, we're doing some things.
Yes, we are.
I'm a little tired, but I am persevering. I think it's the weather, and when the weather changes, like
everything just is like blah.
Exactly.
The allergies kick in.
That's why my voice is so husky. It's a little raspy.
I thought you were just happy to see me.
But yeah, it's definitely the change of weather, all that, and so we'll be joining us. We'll be doing it big on the second, so definitely look out for it. Come on down. We don't want you just to listen in. We want you to come on down. We'd rather have all the listeners here than to have you at home listening. So definitely stay tuned for that. What else? What else is coming up? I don't know. The mayoral election, the primaries are coming up. Please cast your votes. It's very important. Go on the city's website or Google Baltimore mayoral race and really examine all the people that are running this year and really cast your vote. It's very important. It means either the city will run good or it's not. Also look up those presidential candidates, please, because I do not want Trump as president. I'm moving. I'm gonna be that person. Sorry. I may not have the money, but I'll be homeless somewhere in somebody else's country.
So we'll talk about it when we come back from the break.
We'll be right back. Actually, next segment we're gonna designate that to a song. It'll be the Lady Gaga song, so definitely stay tuned for that. I'm not a big Gaga fan, but
this one's good.
It's a good one.
Okay.
We're rewarding you for something you already do, listening to us. It's Radio Loyalty, and it's an easy way for you to get free stuff. All you do is sign up. Go ahead and click the banner now. You'll earn points as you listen. Points you can trade in for great products and services in the Radio Loyalty store. You can earn even more points when you share your favorite station with friends on Facebook and Twitter. Radio Loyalty. It's free to sign up, so click the banner to join now.
Check out what you missed on Be Exposed Radio.
Listen to Elizabeth Warren talking about Black lives and Black life.
Police are not occupying armies. This is America, not a war zone. I speak today with full knowledge that I have not personally experienced and can never truly understand the fear, the oppression, and the pain that confronts African Americans every day.
Don't you just want to kill yourself? I mean, not from what she was saying, but from the music that was playing in the background. I just want to, gosh, but every word she said was prolific, and it did not come from what is now becoming mainstream as white privilege. She has a sensibility about her, and the way she speaks about different things that has, from the first time I saw her, I can't remember what state she's in. I think she's in like North Carolina or something like that, somewhere I'm not going. That some kind of sensibility about her that makes me like her for president. But she's not running. We have this old guy that looks like he should be on the popcorn box. Then we have Martin O'Malley. Fine. We'll settle if we must. Hillary, who I like, but she just has to fight against all this controversy, and that's the hard part of it all. Then we have Huckabee. I could have swore he died, like in one of those books, like a fairy tale book. Trump, we're going to get to you in a moment. Meet with all these black folk in one room, and they just fell for it. Like, he must have been giving out $100 bills behind it.
Check out the Talk Lately show every Tuesday nights from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
Be exposed. Be exposed. Radio.com.
We're rewarding you you for something you already do, listening to us. It's Radio Loyalty, and it's an easy way for you to get free stuff. All you do is sign up. Go ahead and click the banner now. You'll earn points as you listen. Points you can trade in for great products and services in the Radio Loyalty store. You can earn even more points when you share your favorite station with friends on Facebook and Twitter. Radio Loyalty. It's free to sign up, so click the banner to join now.
Check out what you missed on Be Exposed Radio.
So how did Heart Smiles come to be?
So to be honest with you, Heart Smiles was really born right after Freddie Gray. One of my goals for 2015 was to venture out into entrepreneurship. And in January of 2015, I was going to open up a computer shop because that's where my talent resides. People know me for building computers, fixing computers, anything you need done with your computer. Hey, Joan's the person to go to. And then Freddie Gray happened. So I put my dreams aside and said, you know what? I got to do something bigger than myself, and I need to do something to really reach out to my community and to help these young people in particular, just so that, you know, I'm a part of the solution and not just one of those folks just sitting watching things unravel.
The Artist Exchange Radio Show every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artists, real talk, real live. On
Be exposed, be exposed, radio.com.
Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Artist Exchange Live.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Starts now.
Check out what you missed on Be Exposed Radio.
That the focus does need to be back on the family unit. What you think, Sabrina?
Definitely.
Yes.
I mean, it definitely would resolve and solve a lot of community issues.
Yes.
And not just families, right? Healthy families.
Yes.
We want healthy families,
Yes.
healthy men.
Yes. Yeah.
So stability there.
Yes. Healthy. That's the key.
Yeah.
And whole.
Yes.
Because we got a lot of broken. I mean, and the thing about it is each family has something that they're going through. But the key is to be able to deal with it in a healthy way, to cope with the issues. There's no family that is without some kind of issue that they deal with. But if we teach the families on how to cope with it, talk about it, get family counseling, have family meetings.
Absolutely.
These things those are the things that create the healthy family,
Help build it.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely help build it.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
From north, east, south, and west, you're listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the station with all the hits and the Talk Lately show weeknights at 7 p.m.
Free stuff for you just for listening to this station. Yo, we got your attention? Here's how it works. You click on the Radio Loyalty banner right now and sign up. Then you keep on listening like you already do. But now you earn points. Those points add up, and you can trade them in for cool stuff in the Radio Loyalty store. Earn more points by sharing your station with friends on Facebook and Twitter, answering surveys, and by using the apps in the New Players App Store. Pretty simple. Free stuff just for doing what you already do. Radio Loyalty. Click the banner to join now.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
We're rewarding you for something you already do. Listening to us. It's Radio Loyalty, and it's an easy way for you to get free stuff. All you do is sign up. Go ahead and click the banner now. You'll earn points as you listen. Points you can trade in for great products and services in the Radio Loyalty store. You can earn even more points when you share your favorite station with friends on Facebook and Twitter. Radio Loyalty. It's free to sign up. So click the banner to join now.
Check out what you missed on Be Exposed Radio.
I've been trying to get better at my freestyling. And apparently when I'm inebriated, my freestyling is legit.
Okay.
But when I'm sober, so I got to learn how to transition the inebriated TC into the sober TC so I can actually hold my own against some of these people. But Stella, you said you wanted to pick his brain about ghostwriting.
Yeah, dude, like seriously, how do you feel about it? In the midst of this whole Drake and Quentin Miller thing, everybody started trying to write him off and everything. Me personally, I never cared for Drake, so I'm just gonna put that out there right now. Never cared for him, so it doesn't make or break him in my book.
I think with or without a ghostwriter, Drake is still one of the best rappers, not of all time, but of this era.
Right.
I mean, you gotta, whether it be Take Care or anything he's put out before, like people, I think people don't understand the idea of ghostwriting. Just imagine you hot and you gotta stay hot, but in the midst of you trying to stay hot, you on tour, on radio.
Somebody whatever. Gotta pull up the
you got somebody that's literally like, and it's not even, most of the time it's not even writing all the bars. They got these reference tracks now and blah blah blah. Like with the ghostwriting joint, like I think we also have to understand that there's two different types of people in hip hop. You have your rappers and you have your MCs.
Check out Who Got Bars every Tuesday night from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. right here on Be Exposed Radio.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
We're rewarding you for something you already do, listening to us. It's Radio Loyalty, and it's an easy way for you to get free stuff. All you do is sign up. Go ahead and click the banner now. You'll earn points as you listen. Points you can trade in for great products and services in the Radio Loyalty store. You can earn even more points when you share your favorite station with friends on Facebook and Twitter. Radio Loyalty. It's free to sign up. So click the banner to join now.
Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Artist Exchange Live.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Starts now. Welcome back to the Artist Exchange Radio Show here live on BeExposedRadio.com. Here we are on this Friday afternoon. It is so preface this conversation by saying I am not a psychologist of anything, but I have an opinion, and I am just letting you know these are my opinions, and I don't give out anything as fact. And a lot of the things that I say are about my opinion and about my viewpoints and how I personally feel. So whatever I say, take it as a suggestion and my opinion, and an option for you to either use it, use part of it, use the period, use the comma, and do with it what you may. Also, if you against what I'm saying or what we're talking about today, give us a call. We want to hear your opinion, your point of view. 410-702-5657. You can also text us at 443-642-9403. If you want to join in on the conversation, or if you have something to say contrary or in agreement, or you just want to amen, definitely give us a call back. Today's topic is on survivor stories, rape, molestation, sexual assault. I'll preface this conversation by saying I have been on some social media sites, and I was joining in the conversations. Like I've been saying the last year, I've been placing myself in more of them just to get a better perspective when I'm talking to you, to actually know what I'm talking about in a full circle and not just from my own perspective. And I was in a group one time, and this movie, I shared the movie clip with you guys, and there was a young lady, and the person who had molested her, she came across him and she got violent. And the people that were around her, her friends and family that were out there with her, were just as violent towards the person. Now, what I'm about to say does not mean that I'm defending the person that was the perpetrator or the victimizer, but I am saying it was not, in my opinion, healthy for that young lady to still feel that same type of aggression.
Hanging on to that.
After, I think she said about 10 or 12 years later, and I'm not putting a time tag on anybody
on healing, right.
Healing, but if you still feel that angry and that hostile, that means, no work, right? You haven't done like I'm gonna say, you haven't done the work to move forward. But I do get how you can still be stuck in that anger and that frustration and the humiliation, all those feelings at the same time, and not know how to deal with it. So in preparation for this show, I was going through some websites and some blogs, and I came across this one, and it's actually parentsforthemeganlaw.org. And it's an awesome website. It's one of the websites that I got some information, just how you can actually check your local sex offenders list on there, and it gives you definition of what sex offenders crimes are. It kind of breaks down the different codes that they use, because not everybody who's on that list raped somebody or molested somebody. If there are prostitutes on that list, there are people who were picking up a prostitute that was on the list. So you have to understand how to classify it, because they're not all violent offenders, right, or so on and so forth that's on that list. So not defending them, but I'm just saying everybody didn't molest somebody on that list. So some of the quotes that we got, not quotes, but statistics that we got from it, it says 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 6 boys are sexually abused before the age of 18. And before I go through more of these, I'm going to preface this by saying there are a lot of statistics they only count the people who spoke up. So there are tons of people who did not speak up that are not a part of these statistics. So if more people would speak up, the statistics would be a little bit different. 1 in 6 boys are sexually abused before the age of 18. 1 in 5 youths receive a sexual approach or solicitation over the internet in the past year. 1 in 5 youth have received a sexual approach or solicitation over the internet in the past year. The average age for the first abuse in young boys are 9.9 and 9.6 for young girls. They really took it down to the percentage. So around the same age, basically. Abuse typically occurs within a long-term or ongoing relationship between the offender and the victim.
Right.
It escalates over time and lasts on average for about 4 years. Again, these are the people who actually spoke up, not just, in general. They make in general statements, but it doesn't include the people who have not spoken up yet. Many child sexual abuse victims never disclose their abuse to anyone. Less than 12% of child sexual abuse is reported to the police. Children are most vulnerable between the ages of 7 and 13. And that's kind of a strange age because that's normally the time that parents start giving their children freedom, maybe to...
that makes sense, though.
Because I know towards like 5th grade was when my mother started letting me walk to school by myself because we lived right down the street.
Right.
And then middle school, that 10 to 13 is when you
7
may catch
is
the bus by yourself for the first time.
7 is the age that most kids can play organized sports and actually understand the rules, so mom and dad don't have to be there during practice.
Right.
So yeah, that makes sense. That's about the age where they can say, okay, you good? All right, I'll see you in a few hours. Which is unfortunately what happens. Those are the prime times that children are most vulnerable when they're in a group
when
activity.
you start giving them spurts of freedom, and that's kind of that age range. 29% of all forcibly rapes occurred when the victim was under 11 years old.
Wow.
15% of sexual assault and rape victims are under the age of 12. 44% of sexual assault and rape victims are under the age of 18. Children children with disabilities are 4 to 10 times more vulnerable to sexual abuse than their non-disabled peers. Nearly 30% of children sexual assault victims identified by Children Protective Services agencies were between 4 and 7. So a lot of these statistics are about the same. So they're focusing on younger people.
They're less likely to know
Right.
this is not okay.
Right.
And by the time they understand that this is not okay, they're wrapped up in the shame or the hurt or
just the confusion of it all.
Right.
Because especially at that age, and a lot of the young men that I've read about, the Oprah episode she did with like over 150 men, a lot of them were confused because often as a young person, the sensation feels good at some point.
Your body reacts naturally.
So what do you do? So we have an awesome young lady in the building with us today, and she's going to share her experience and her story and her point of view and her perspective with us. So say hello, ma'am.
Good.
You can pull it down some. Yeah.
Okay. Good evening.
So I tried to give you a little foundation with some statistics, but like I said, a lot of them didn't really count the people who have not spoken up. So let us know your point of view.
Well, I'm going to speak from a professional perspective, and the perspective of a woman, and definitely the perspective of a mother,
right?
And kind of address some of the things you already mentioned. So you talked about coaches and the relationship that people have, and how children are vulnerable when they're in private spaces with people we likely trust.
Right.
Same thing definitely holds true within families.
Amen.
Oftentimes these events happen during a party. a family event, and then everyone's there and the children aren't necessarily being paid attention to, and the child is left vulnerable. It's far more likely to happen when someone knows the family or knows the child is in the family itself. So that's something important to acknowledge.
That was one of them. Most times it happens when they're more familiar than, I think they say less than 10% is when it's with a stranger, with children.
Right. And just recently I was taking a look at Facebook, and there was an old story, a tragic story about a young man who was molested by a stranger in a bathroom at a restaurant. And people commented, "This is why I don't let my children walk into the bathroom alone," that type of thing. And things are different now. That's the common quote. But I often say things aren't really different because this has been happening since the beginning of
You just hear about it more.
Right.
People
You just
have
hear
been
about it
people.
more. Yeah. And we become more conscious, or we become more this is the word I'm looking for. We become far more in tune to it as a collective because we are talking about it and it's out in the open. But
And people are telling people to talk about it more.
30, 40 years
Right.
ago, you know, it was just a family secret. We didn't talk much about it.
Mhm.
So that's
Right.
part of what I wanted to acknowledge. The other thing I want to talk about is the sex offender registry. You talked about people on there are not necessarily accused of rape, but they are accused of a sex offense.
Right.
What I address is the wrongfully convicted.
Right.
And I acknowledge that there are quite a few people on the sex offender registry who should never be on the registry because they didn't commit a sex offense at all. Maybe that's the situation. Or they have been wrongfully charged with something that really wasn't a sex offense. The other piece is that people who should be on the registry are not on the registry.
Exactly.
So we're talking about old cases, persons who are still walking around and people don't know they actually committed a sex offense, whether they were convicted or they committed a sex offense and no one knows that this person is an actual sexual predator.
But they just put a blanket statement over it. And then even if you were, a lot of these young men that or older men actually that we're hearing about that are now being released from jail because DNA or somebody confessed, they're still on that list. So you don't get off that list.
No,
and they're trying
they don't
to fight
take your name
legislation now to be able to either put a cap on it, a time period, or for certain offenses, it could phase out. Like if you picked up a prostitute 20 years ago, you're still on the sex offenders list.
Right. And the other, I mean, some of these stories are absolutely tragic. But again, we know that they exist. The other pieces, we talk about DNA evidence exonerating falsely or wrongfully convicted. I call this the age of the innocence movement. So we see these cases rolling out. However, for right now is about 350 who've been exonerated via the Innocence Project. But there are, I would argue, hundreds upon hundreds of cases that will never lend to an exoneration. People will go to their grave having a particular conviction on their record that shouldn't be there. And I'm talking about that initially because on one side, I look at it from a criminalistic perspective, but definitely on the other side, I acknowledge the victims, real victims who are not necessarily getting the same attention even as someone who's been wrongfully convicted.
Right.
And that's totally unfortunate, but it speaks volumes to our reality and how we deal with sex anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's, part of what I examine. And I talked about professionally, I look at it one way. And as a mother,
I go through.
If you know the realities and the possibilities, and you have made observations, or you've had conversations, or you've had some experiences yourself, that heightened sense of awareness is there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And from the perspective of a mom, it may be that there is some anger or resentment against an individual, whether the person has been therapized or not, because they're looking at their own babies and saying,
yes,
look what someone did to me, or look what someone did to someone who's this age, and this was an innocent kid, right? So that's that mother piece coming out. Now, not being a clinician myself, I acknowledge that there is an illness, however, with those perpetrators. There is an illness. No one in their right mind would violate a child. They wouldn't. In their right mind, they would not violate a child. There is definite illness. So when you talk about the woman who still had anger or resentment, she may have gotten to a place where she acknowledged that, or may have not had gotten to a place where she acknowledged the illness. But if she did, some work still needs to be done relative to addressing the anger and the pain that exists. But I don't think that will ever go away, especially when someone has a child of their own and they're like, this person did this to me.
It can't ever
and that,
be
look at the
normal.
look at the faces of your children and see the possibility of someone doing that to you
them.
when you were that
Yeah.
age. It's quite compelling. Okay.
It's definitely interesting to in us sharing, just in thinking about having this show, I shared my experience, and I just think for me, one is my personality not to stay mad. So that couldn't have been the first feeling that I had. It just wouldn't have happened to me. But I've been cautious as to say, well, why are you still mad? I don't ever ask those questions because I understand that that's just not my first reaction, but that's often other people's first reaction, depending on what your personality is. And yeah, you can't hear. Yeah, but it definitely is my phone. It's definitely, it says a lot about a person that can let go. But how do you let go when anger is it's connected to this? When it becomes your primary feeling, when it becomes it's a part of your life. So how do you then move on from that? Like, how do you change your makeup?
I don't know. That becomes a personal question. Do you want to change your makeup? I know a lot of people who anger is their first reaction to most things. I think that's a very human thing. I mean, anytime we run across something different, the first reactions are either fear or anger. And we can talk about it a little more once we come back from the break. Don't forget, you are listening to the Artist Exchange Radio Show here on BeExposedRadio.com. Stay tuned. We're going to take a little water break and come right back. We're talking about something that's real, and we are trying to empower those of you who can't find your own words. Perhaps tonight you will find them. Stay tuned and don't go anywhere.
You are now listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
I just need you to take a listen to this. Monty, the executive producer around here, and the host of the Talk Lately show with Monty, goes off. Check this out.
Who's traveling in here?
We took it. We shipped it for parts.
Why? Who took the air conditioner out? Who is the boss around this bitch? I don't understand. Because I never told anybody to take this. Where is it?
You something, Bill.
To be honest with you, it ain't been in here. It wasn't even in here Tuesday.
Oh, snap. You got jacked a week ago, son.
Where is it?
They straight up.
Seriously, where's Nate?
Oh, snap.
I don't check.
Seriously, where's Nate? Don't touch the door again. Where's Nate? Nathan Steven.
Oh my God.
Is that his name? They found it.
I'm on the air. Can I get my situation together? I'm running a business around this bitch.
It's in that closet.
See? Just check the show out every Tuesday at 7 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
Check out this flashback of the Artist Exchange Radio Show on BeExposedRadio.com.
So we're going to get a little bit into the album with Miss Amira and learn the basis of it, the Banji soul of it all.
Yes.
So let us know, first of all, what is Banji soul?
Banji soul is basically just real. It's real soul. It's real. It's not cut down. It's not watered down. It's, how as hot as it came off of my mind and my heart. That's what it is. And a lot of the times I get a little tangy, bangy, ratchet, whatever how you like to put it, classify it. But I like to say bangy, because I'm classy.
Bangy is a little classier.
It's a little classier. That's got your pinky up.
Right.
You got your pinky up with that.
Okay, we got to keep the bees, the bougie, the banji.
Yeah.
Right.
So she's created her own lane, Banji Soul.
Mm-hmm.
So let us know how that is covered in the album that released on the 9th of this month, right?
Yes. Well, I did it to a number of industry tracks, including like the Beatles Come Together, and I did a Lindsay Lohan joint. You remember the Confessions of a Broken Heart?
Okay.
And a lot of stuff I aimed to like change the theme that was originated, or just to. It was my therapy.
Okay.
It was my therapy.
So that's why this is a mixtape.
Yes.
Okay, because you did a lot of remakes.
Mhm.
Okay, I got you. The Artist Exchange Radio Show every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artist, real talk, real live on BeExposedRadio.com.
Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Artist Exchange Live.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Starts now.
Welcome back to the Artist Exchange Radio Show here live on BeExposedRadio.com. Today's subject matter is all about telling your story. I had a young lady on here maybe about 5 or 6 months ago. She lives in California and she has a movement. It's called Tell Somebody. And often we don't share these experiences because it's attached to some shame, some regret, and feeling like, what did I do? As a young man who had gone through this myself, molestation, I felt like it was something that I did. And it took me until I think I was about 28, 29 before I went to a therapist. And the therapist basically told me that I had a stain on me that made me a target for this. Because I found that same person throughout my life saying things or sharing things or saying things towards me. And she basically told me there was something about me that made me a target for this. And I told her, I said, this is why men don't come up, because you make it something that we've done.
Right.
I'm not an aggressive person. I'm not overtly sexual. Because even when that comes up, I always ask my friends, like, do you think it's something about, and that's always been a question. Every female I've ever met or known, I've asked them that question as it pertains to me. And the answer always surprises me, because I'm like, well, what am I saying? What am I doing? And that's not even in my vocabulary. But having a therapist say that, but it was a Black woman. I cringed to say that, but even in her conversation with me, I could tell she had some issues with who she thought I was, and that kind of fueled her answer. But that's when I was like, I can't do therapy, because I had to find somebody who's totally not in my culture to give me this type of unbiased information that I'm seeking. So we're gonna let our guests tell a little bit more her story and share her perspective on this matter.
Okay, first of all, again, you keep talking about some things that we have to hit on the head. If anyone is listening, I will suggest that you do tell someone. I don't care how old you are.
Yep.
I'm going to reference a book. It's in progress. It's an anthology of women's stories. It's S on Your Chest. It's an S on Your Chest book, and this is the Baltimore version. One of the stories is about a woman who never told. She had the experience when she was 5 years old, being molested. And she was 15 when her sister confirmed that it actually happened to her. And the reason her sister and her had this conversation, because it happened to her sister by the same person. But her sister was an outspoken young person. She told, and there's a lot of dynamics related to the telling and why and that whole piece. But I'm mentioning that to say, no matter how old you are, you can tell someone.
Absolutely.
Whether it's a therapist to get it off your chest, whether it's a close other to help process, it's important to tell. And I also say that mental health services, unfortunately, will not save the day. because mental health services are not where they can be.
It brings it to the surface.
It brings it to the surface. You have to work through it after it gets out, because sometimes therapists may not be readily available to offer that thing you need to get through it.
Right, but you have to realize going to a therapist will not solve the problem. And I went into therapy, and the first thing she asked, what did I want to get out of it? I wanted to organize the thoughts that I had in my head, because I realized that is what a therapist is for. All they do is regurgitate what you're giving them. So they're not there to solve the problem. They're there to bring it to the surface and help you organize your thoughts, not soften them, not eliminate them, but organize them. And then you are the vehicle driver. You drive that and decide decisions what you're going to do with them.
Exactly. And the other piece, though, and even in that story with this this adult now who was 5 when she was violated, is that when she was in her late 30s, she talks about going to therapy because she experienced severe depression. She was actually hospitalized. And during one of her therapy sessions, the therapist, several occasions, she talks about being hospitalized. Two times she was hospitalized, but 2 different therapists said the same thing. They said part of your depression, or your bout of depression, may be related to what happened to you as a 5-year-old. This is what happened during the session, and both therapists said they have to report it, because there's a mandatory reporting of these things from the perspective of a therapist. They have to report molestation no matter how many years ago it happened. In her case, it was more than 3 decades had passed since she was violated.
Wow.
But
is that when you know the person, or?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if someone under the age of 18 was in harm in any way, whether it's molestation or something else, and it's reported to a mandatory reporter, like a therapist, they're supposed to report it. Now, here's the story. The woman doesn't know whether or not the therapist did anything.
Because I'm sitting here saying, well, did the person I know
they're supposed to
something?
report it. In this, I'm trying to think, in the case, maybe 3 years ago, this happened. And in just 2016, so maybe in 2014, maybe 2 years ago, this happened where she talked to a therapist about it. 2 years had passed, and last check, know anything about who reported what's happening with this case. It's like it's on paper. This is what therapists are supposed to do.
Right.
But okay,
they're not being held responsible.
Again, this kind of speaks again to mental health.
Not being what it should.
Insurance versus not.
It's there. It exists. You can talk to someone, but it may not necessarily save the day. But I still undoubtedly encourage people to seek counsel, to seek counseling, to get it off their chest, to acknowledge, you know what, this is why I think this way. This is why I respond this way. This is why I cringed under these circumstances, because you actually have a lived experience that's impacting your every day. It can impact your every day. So that's important.
We're going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show on BeExposedRadio.com. Don't forget, we're going to give out this number each time, the National Sexual Assault Hotline, 1-800-656-4673, 1-800-656-4673. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Do you have troubled skin, acne? With Proactive, you can heal your acne and help prevent new breakouts. Right now, in this radio area, we're looking for just 50 people with moderate acne to demonstrate exactly how fast Proactive works. The first 50 callers who qualify can try Proactive risk-free for 60 days.
Call 800-388-7152, 800-388-7152, 800-388-7152.
Hey everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired Radio Show.
And I know everybody is all excited about that word faith.
Yes, that's the one.
That's the key word. But I took a moment and I looked at faith in the Webster. Whether people understand it or not, whether you have a place where you have fellowship or worship, you still live by faith.
Yes.
Faith is not something that, you can really get away from. And it's in the Webster. And in Webster, it says faith is allegiance to duty or a person. It's an allegiance. This is what Webster says.
Wow.
An allegiance.
I never really thought about it like that. Allegiance.
Or
like a promise.
Yes, absolutely. You're making a promise. You're making an allegiance to a duty or a person. We talking about Webster here.
Yes.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the station with all the hits and the Talk Lately show weeknights at 7 p.m. You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the station with all the hits and the Talk Lately show weeknights at 7 p.m.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is, because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org, because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Artists Exchange. The Artists Exchange. The Artists Exchange. The Artists Exchange.
The Artists Exchange.
Artists Exchange Live.
The Artists Exchange. The Artists Exchange.
The Artists Exchange.
Starts now.
I'll be
Hey, welcome back to the Artist Exchange Radio Show here live on BigExposedRadio.com. We're here back, and this story will definitely be part one because we're going to have to
Yeah,
bring
this
back
has gotten very
because
real.
it is a very real story, and we all know somebody who has been a victim of it. And me personally, I on social media when I was promoting the show, I definitely tagged all the individuals that I know personally who have gone through this, and I'm not going to ask them to call. If they feel comfortable, definitely call in. But I have seen the effects of it.
Yes.
I have an aunt that went through it, and I see the effects because as a child, I didn't know it. And it wasn't until I was an adult that she came out and said it. And people, like family members, knew who the other family member was.
Wow.
And it was a thing of how do we deal with this person? Because this person still comes around family events.
Right.
And I've watched, in the last few years, I've watched my aunt grow a little bit only because she went and got help. And she began to talk about it and it got out of her head. And that loop was broken in her head. So now she can deal with moving on and not just dealing day to day, but now she's moving on from it. So I can see you got a
question.
A question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The question is actually for the guests, and hopefully I don't get choked up while I'm saying this, but a person that I really care for, she's confided in me and told me that she was molested before. And I study psychology, and I know that that's definitely something she needs to talk to. One, she needs to tell her family because it was a family member that did it. He still comes around, and he's still around very heavy. And I asked her why she didn't tell her mother, and she claims that she's come to peace with it. But I feel as though that you never really come to peace with it if you don't tell, one, your mother, and two, you seek counsel.
Well, the statement that I feel, it's not who you tell. If she tells, it's maybe a reason why she's not telling her family. It maybe is a reason why she hasn't told anybody that's connected to that person. But telling somebody doesn't make the problem better. In most cases, it actually makes the problem worse because then that's a family.
Now everyone's got to. Now everyone has to face the reality. You have now said it out loud. Now we have to, because before we all knew it, but no one said anything. So we all quote unquote dealt with it privately. Now you've put it out there. Now everyone has to face it. Right. Those who are in charge of who this person was, because that person's parents are still around. Maybe they have to deal with who they raised, and then they have to ask the question. Right. Then they have to ask, well, how did this happen to you? Did you not tell? Was there something you didn't tell us? And now you have become, it be snowballs, and that is not in any family. That's not anything people run to do. No one wants to jump into the messy part of
nobody, because it's like you're going through something and people are making it about them.
Yeah.
Opposed to, it's like most people don't tell their mother because their mother automatically, that's a knock to her parenting. So when wasn't I paying attention?
Right.
It's not always an angry situation, but mothers make it about them.
Oh my
because
God.
it's an attack on my parenting skills.
Right.
And
and it's crazy how things go, but I would suggest, one, I'll give her this number, and they have a lot of resources. I was about to do it, but she could definitely, our guest could definitely probably give you some resources. But there's always things out there, but everything isn't psychology. It's not an ABC to anything.
Yeah,
and
but another
people have
thing,
to deal with it in their own way.
Another thing that I noticed about her, well, I know these things. She deals with self-image issues. And she has anxiety problems as well. So I'm thinking maybe it's like
there may be some relation.
Yeah, it must be some kind of connection to it because she's a very beautiful woman. I love her because that's a friend of mine. So it's just like I don't see what her body image problem is. I try to constantly give positive affirmation like, oh, you're beautiful, X, Y, and Z. But she tells me, and I understand that if she doesn't see it for herself, my positive affirmation doesn't really do anything for her.
So talking about that, one of my favorite poets is a young lady named Jackie Soul. She made her way up through Black on Black Rhymes in Duval County. And one of the pieces she has is called Beautiful. And she doesn't like the word beautiful because that was what her brother would call her when he was molesting her. So anytime someone tells her, "Oh, you're beautiful," she's like, don't come at me with that word. I don't want to hear that, because that does not bring good thoughts to her head. So that's the other thing, is that all of your affirmations may just be triggers because that's what someone was whispering in her ear in that horribly inappropriate situation.
And she's putting all that frustration into a word,
right,
and not into moving on from it. And a lot of those, even in your friend's situation, those things about ourselves, those quirks, those insecurities, they exist regardless of who the person is. But then something like molestation or sexual assault happens to a person, and that only heightens it. We all go through stuff like that, but it only heightens and elongates when you go through situations like that, because then that becomes the thing, the quirk or the OCD that you have in doing it. And not to put just a word on it, but those things just get heightened when you have it. Tell us a little bit more about the book, and some of those stories that.
Yes. And she just brought back an idea or a part of the book where a person is talking about her trigger, and her trigger is Disney. She remembers wearing Disney pajamas when she was molested, and every time she remembers the event, she remembers what she had on. And that triggers something for her. Just flashback moment.
Right.
So we saw the movie Precious, when she had those flashback moments. That is real. That happens every
Because you can't really
day.
remember, but it's certain things that stick out to you.
Yes.
Color.
Right. Yes.
Some people, if they have issues with colors,
right,
or sounds that they may have heard that is associated with it. And
someone always played the same music. Someone always wore the same cologne. Yeah.
And it's real, and you have to deal with it. One of the things that I would say in dealing with it, get it out of your head. If you just say it out loud, write it down, tell it to a confidant, something, get it out of your head, because it goes on a loop.
Yes.
For a long time, I don't think anybody knew what my aunt's problem was, but she really acted out. And it would be little things that just would trigger her. And like you said, once she had children, it only heightened.
Yep.
And she became one of those parents that would literally go to jail for her children.
And go to the slumber party.
Right. Right. Exactly. And it would really be just like, what is your problem today? And it'd be this a little switch. Now, we have mental disorder in my family, but it went beyond that. We saw those elements, but it just went beyond that. And when she's finally said it out loud and confirmed it to the larger group, we realized that person had did it to another person.
Right.
And we realized he had did it to another person. And now we're figuring out like who else was a victim of this, and why did this happen? And but it took my grandmother passing away. I don't think if my grandmother was still here, she wouldn't have said it.
Exactly.
She wouldn't have said it.
That's so real.
And what can you speak to the as a mothers in the room? What could that not speaking to why a child doesn't speak up to a parent, but what do you feel being a child and a parent now as to why a child wouldn't speak up?
Okay, so I'll give you again back to the one of the cases out of the book. The sister, she may have been 3 when she was molested in the same way her older sister was when she was 5. And the 3-year-old told her mother. And almost immediately, something happened, and mom brought her into the bathroom and had a candid conversation about what happened. The mom reacted immediately to get in touch with the family where this happened to get this person punished, right? And it's not criminal sentencing, criminal prosecution or anything. It was just
within the family
dealing with what happened. But when the 5-year-old,
the older sister
knocked on the door, to say, it also happened to me. She was at the moment of just telling the story, the mother closes the door and says, I'm talking to your sister. But the mother didn't know that's what she was trying to tell her.
Right.
So what happens is, being a parent is the most intense job in the world, and parents make 500 mistakes per day.
Yes.
And that was a mistake. The mom did not know that her daughter was trying to tell her what happened to her.
Right.
So from the perspective of a child, it could be any host of things that lends himself to not tell. In that particular case, she did tell a close other immediately after it happened. But that close other was too young to be able to even
do
process.
anything.
We're going to come back and continue this conversation. So definitely don't forget to give us a call, 410-702-5657. Or if you want to text in, definitely feel comfortable and free to 443-642-9403. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show on BeExposedRadio.com.
We're rewarding you for something you already do, listening to us. It's Radio Loyalty, and it's an easy way for you to get free stuff. All you do is sign up. Go ahead and click the banner now. You'll earn points as you listen. Points you can trade in for great products and services in the Radio Loyalty store. You can earn even more points when you share your favorite station with friends on Facebook and Twitter. Radio Loyalty. It's free to sign up, so click the banner to join now.
Check out what you missed on Be Exposed Radio.
Being in this industry is definitely hard. Facto. Even especially when you're a family man. Facto. Now, and one of the questions, actually, this is a question from one of the listeners. Facto. How has becoming a father changed your position as an artist on the scene?
I think being a dad has put me in a space where I have to recognize, what's really important. Like, don't get me wrong, like the scene is important to me, and being an artist is important. Honestly, like I went back to school, because I'm a dad, and you got to provide, and we got. The struggle is real for me right now. Like I can't spend as much time as I want to with my kids because the school shit and this. It's kicking my ass, man. I'm trying to be, I'm trying to be everything that I need to be. So when it's all said and done, this music and art, it ain't going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? I just really want, I guess, myself as an artist and as a father to be cognizant of the things that are happening within the community, and how that also affects me being a dad as well. I know that, if I'm not doing my part in the community, I'm not giving everything that I need in order to be a great dad and a great black man, I'm not going to be able to be successful. I'm not going to be able to be the father that I want to be, and the man that I want to be. So, everything has been put in a perspective.
Check out Who Got Buzz every Tuesday night from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. right here on Be Exposed Radio.
Be exposed. Be exposed. Radio.com.
So, Jacqueline. Yes, Mom? I wanted to talk to you about something and... Oh, wait. Hold on. I just got a text. Oh, there's another one. Wow. Busy me. So, anyway...
Oh, wait, Mom. I just got a message. My friends keep commenting on my comment. Oh, there's another one. So many comments on my comment.
Oh, I can't wait to watch TV tonight. Playoffs!
Hey, guys, check out my new video game. Wait, Mom, what? Huh?
What? Hold
What'd
on.
you say? Wait a second, what?
This weekend, unplug. Take your family to the forest. There's nothing in the world like experiencing nature firsthand. Trees, paths, bluebirds, streams. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange Live.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Starts now.
Welcome back to the Artist Exchange Radio Show on BeExposedRadio.com. We're going to hear a little bit more about this book, this anthology of survivor stories that she is working on. How did you guys come together? Or
well, it's a collaborative of experts, and I mean everyone on the every woman is an expert. So these 4 women are experts because they're women, and we just talk about, and Black women particularly, we talk about wearing the S on our chest and how we do it every day, and it's seen as a term of endearment, but it's truly something we don't always want to wear. We don't want to wear the cape every day. We want to have a day where we're not the superhero,
right?
Not solving the crime or solving the problem, whatever the case may be. But so some of these stories are about surviving molestation, but there are a whole host of things that are discussed, and how do we maneuver, or how women maneuver these things in their experience, in their process.
What seems to be a common thread amongst the women that, in general, or the people who have gone through this, what in your opinion, seems to be the common thread? Because it's not just the shy child, it's not just the overtly sexual adult female. There's not a face for this, but do you see a common thread amongst them?
Well, what I will say this much: when we talk about any moments of negativity, violation, victimization, I'm talking about anything. I can talk about being the victim of a robbery. The common thread is the response. The common thread is, sorry to hear that happened to you. I feel so bad. And that's it.
Right.
The response is,
because what can you say when somebody tells you?
So the common thread is there is this moment of feeling bad, but again, the people who are making those responses can't do much.
No, you can't.
So I think the book will allow folks to kind of examine, well, you can't be you're not an X-ray expert. You can't offer the therapy and the like, but you can understand these stories so that you can maybe be better able to relate to someone who's even closer to you than these women in the book, where they're addressing their own issues. So you can actually say, okay, this is what happened to this person. Now I know how to respond or interact under these circumstances, because part of the book is the expert kind of assessment of each of the cases to kind of give remedies for addressing these particular issues. And I'm talking about postpartum depression, I'm talking about molestation, I'm talking about, dating, I'm talking about being a sister, all host of things are happening in this particular anthology.
And that's interesting. I always felt as a creative person that my job here, we all have this job, and I always felt like my job was to in some way kind of infuse what I've learned and what I've experienced in helping young Black men, or just men in general, because I have a family full of men. I have friends that are men, but I'm always detached from them. I'm never really, because it's just something about building those relationships that I've never trusted. And I realized that in myself. It wasn't Tracy Jiggets, one of my dear friends. She said, Nathan, you are very hard on men. And I was like, they dudes, like, they can take it. She was like, but you very hard on them. And I could be very passive towards females because you're supposed to be gentle, it's supposed to be, but it definitely connects with that person. And it's crazy because I have an image in my head of what I remember him to look like, and it was Judge Mathis in my head. So I remember the first time I saw him on TV, I watched the whole episode, and I wasn't, like I said, I don't get mad, but I couldn't stop watching the show after that. I remember that burgundy Buick, and I remember the cologne, I remember the place, and so the memory had not left me. It was just dealing with it as, because I wasn't 5 or 6, so dealing with it as an adult, knowing that I did not do this, that I did not welcome this wasn't something that I wanted, it wasn't something that I asked for, and hearing a lot of people's stories, I realized you wasn't, I wasn't necessarily the quiet one. I wasn't that. He didn't know anything about my personal life to know
that you were. There was like a vulnerability or anything like that.
To know those things, he just saw somebody. But the crazy thing about it was the day that it happened. My mother and I were together, so he saw my mother, and my mother saw him. And that was the crazy thing for me. So if I was to ever tell my mother, I would have to take her back to that moment, which I know is in her mind.
Right.
Because for your son,
she knows when it happened.
I don't think she knows that it happens. I mean, I've never said anything to family, or I mean, she probably listening. She knows now, so I'll probably have that conversation with her if she addresses it. But again, we don't have a relationship where she'll know something's wrong, but my mother always let me fail. She never was afraid to let me fail because she knew that I was strong enough to get back up. But I just, in talking to other people sometimes, I just wish there was somebody there that asked the question. Even in my situation, I wish it was someone who asked the question. We're going to ask some questions when we come back. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show on BeExposedRadio.com.
Be exposed. Be exposed. Radio.com.
From north, east, south, and west, you're listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Join the club that gives you stuff.
Hey, thanks.
Radio Loyalty. Here's how it works. Just click on the Radio Loyalty banner right now and sign up. Then you keep on listening like you already do. But now you earn points. Those points add up, and you can trade them in for stuff in the Radio Loyalty store. Earn more points by sharing your station with friends on Facebook and Twitter, answering surveys, and by using the apps in the New Players App Store. Pretty simple, right? Radio Loyalty. Click that banner to join now.
Be exposed. Be exposed. Radio.com.
We're rewarding you for something you already do, listening to us. It's Radio Loyalty, and it's an easy way for you to get free stuff. All you do is sign up. Go ahead and click the banner now. You'll earn points as you listen. Points you can trade in for great products and services in the Radio Loyalty store. You can earn even more points when you share your favorite station with friends on Facebook and Twitter. Radio Loyalty. It's free to sign up, so click the banner to join now.
Check out what you missed on Be Exposed Radio.
Most times, you know, we've seen mom, she was Superwoman. She had 5 kids. She worked 3 jobs and she did it all by herself. And, you know, and then we do find that some moms, you know, put down the dad. You know, instead of finding ways to try to work it out. You know, I mean, I've witnessed firsthand situation like that, you know, and we want to encourage it because we want the dads to be there. I know someone would say, well, if he really wanted to be in the child's life, he would, but it makes it difficult if mom is being difficult.
Absolutely.
If we're working against one another, it makes it hard. And, you know, we want to encourage dads to be there
regardless of the circumstances.
Absolutely.
And I'm speaking from a single mother's perspective. So definitely regardless of the circumstances.
So okay,
you got to keep the door open. You know, you have to, because one thing what some women have to understand, those that feel that way, but and I'm a single mom, but you have to keep the door open. It's not about you.
That's right.
It's about the children.
That's right.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
You're listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the station with all the hits and the Talk Lately show weeknights at 7 p.m.
Check out this flashback from the Artist Exchange Radio Show. So today's topic was actually rebuilding your master plan, and I think we got to that by way of storytelling, by way of just getting off your chest what it is. That's what the Artist Exchange here for. We promote music, we promote artistry, we promote entrepreneurs and community leaders, but at the end of the day, we promote the individual. Who are you and what do you have to give? And outside of ticket sales and downloads and apps and so on and so forth, and your Google stream, but who are you as a person? Because we have to be more engaging, more enriching in the lives. Those holes that we take, that we take from the community, we have to begin to fill those gaps back in with the things that we have to offer. And we take a lot of ticket sales, we take a lot of promotions and stuff, product from the community, but we got to start filling those things up before we move on and better ourselves in our growth.
It's weird radio where everybody is really dope. Check out this flashback.
You know, how you ended it. I've never actually broken up with someone. I've only done it once. I've always gotten dumped. I have always gotten dumped. I've never broken up with someone. Yeah. A few of them just kind of, we moved away and we never.
You know what? I have had one of the ones where it was a unspoken breakup. Like she knew what it was, I knew what it was, and we just.
Yeah, man. You've never had that happen?
No.
Oh, how old are you again?
22. Yeah, I'll be 22 on March 5th.
He'll be 22. Oh, damn! You're such a baby. It's cute.
But I've never gotten broken up with. I've always done a breaking up.
Hey,
it'll happen.
Oh, well, okay, hold on. Since we got some,
I'm telling the truth. Shut up, Nate.
All right, let's.
Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange Live.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Starts now. The Artist Exchange radio show here live on BeExposedRadio.com. Like I said, this is definitely, first of all, I've been wanting this conversation to happen. I want to do a series of these conversations because this is something that I think is my story,
part of it,
and it's actually something that I thought about making into like a one-man show, but it's crazy. The two writers, I'm gonna yell out Sister Tracy, who is one of the people that I wanted to help write it. Actually, it just stops. The process stops, and I don't think they think that I'm ready. And I think I'm more than ready. I've done crazier stuff on stage, so I think I'm more than ready, but it's definitely something I think I want to do to help.
I agree.
Help other people. But before we went to break, Miss Natasha said she had a question for me, and now I want to know what the question is.
Okay, so the question is, and this is based upon again the one of the chapters. In one of the chapters, the woman talks about wanting to confront the person, not confront, but actually have a conversation with the person, believing that would give her more information about what happened, why it happened, if the person even remembers that it happened, letting the person know the ramifications of what they did, how it transcends decades, how that impacted their everyday, how it impacted their raising children, that whole piece.
Right.
So I'm not sure if you know the perpetrator in your case, or if you know that person's existence on the planet, but if you knew this person were around, would that be a conversation you'd be willing to have?
Now that's the part that my anger, I think that's how my anger comes back out, because I'm a silent person. So I kill you with silence. I know I saw him one time after that, and I don't think it was never hostility. It was just, why would you do this? And if I had to ask any question, that would pretty much be what it is, because that's been a question that I've had in my head ever since, not based on that scenario, but just how people perceive me. Because, and Alma knows this because I've asked her and every other person in my life, and the therapist brought it up without me even saying anything, but people get a sexual vibe from me. Like, they tell me I'm either a sensual person or something sexual. I don't know when it comes. And
the therapist told you that?
Yeah. Well, she told me I had a stain on me.
She's right. So she made it being about you, which I'm so over the victim
but I
blaming.
realized
so
she had
over
some quirks in her.
Right.
That, because I learned more about fact that she ain't having sex in them, so I learned those things about. So that's how I knew I just had a bad therapist.
You guys shared personal information.
Yeah, we started talking more about her. Then,
oh my God!
And because I think I do that, I'll reverse the conversation.
Right, and she was not very good. She just let you do that.
Exactly.
It's a terrible therapist.
I had a bad therapist at the time, but I think if I had to ask a question, it would definitely be, why? Or have you done this to anybody else? Why me? Because that was ultimately a question that I've had in me. Because it's been a question that I've had in a lot of relationships that I have. whether it be friends or just strangers. Like, what is it about me that think that you can just come to me and say something that vulgar,
right?
Or assume that that's where my mind is.
I always, and it's one of the conversations I've had with my, not to, this is not, but my husband gets approached by gay men a lot, aggressively, and I said there's a vulnerability about you that is he's not going to hurt me if I say these things to him. And I don't know that there is anything you can do about it. Sometimes you just have a face, just like someone has a face that you look like so-and-so. Yeah, I know. I hear that all the time. And not that I believe that there's a such thing as victim blaming at all. I don't think that people invite, I don't think you wearing a t-shirt invites you to people and say, unless your shirt says, hey, say something. You're not, I believe that people's space should be respected. And 100%, but there is just like you can be in a room with someone and without them saying much, without them doing much, this person believes, is a Christian, because maybe there are certain words that they use. Like Christians always say, well, you got to be a good steward of your money. Right. That is a very Christian phrase, being a good steward of. That's not something you hear people who aren't raised in the church say very often. So you're talking to lawyers use certain words in everyday conversation that regular people just don't do. And so you can say, oh, that person might be a lawyer, or that person is in a family of lawyers and they spend a lot of time around lawyers, so and that's how you were raised in a house with women. So was Kenyon. Kenyon was raised by his mother, and then he was in his grandmother's house, and there are 7 sisters. His grandmother has 7 sisters, so there were always women around. So he's very, he's not the most masculine man, but he's not effeminate either.
And see, that's gonna be part 2.
Okay.
Of the conversation, because understanding what words mean and value to you versus value to me,
right?
And understanding what all that is. But I'll give the first half of the story.
Okay.
And it's crazy because when I said this to the therapist, that's when she made the statement about it being a stain. Because I came from the market and I had caught a hack, and I had never caught a hack after that because it just wasn't
right.
I just thought it was just a grown
Bad
thing
taste.
To do.
Right.
I was 15. I thought that's what you do. So I got into the hack, and we were driving, and I lived. Remember when it used to be a market? It's like a Stop Shop and Save at Mondawmin. But that's how grown I am. But it used to be there, and I told him where I lived, and he took the long way. So he went up Gwynns Falls, up Garrison, instead of just taking a little shortcut road. And we're in the car, and there's no conversation. I think it was music playing, but I was hungry. I had groceries. I was going home to eat.
Right.
And getting there, I think when we hit Garrison off of Gwynns Falls, he asked me, he said, do you swing? And I was like, as an adult, I know what that means now, but as a child, I'm not old enough to dance. I'm not old enough to go out. And that's what I said. And in that moment, I could tell like there was a silence after that. And now I'm thinking, oh yeah, I got fresh meat here. He doesn't know what the world means right now. So nothing was said until we got in front of my house. Nothing else was said after that. And I think because my mother was going through like a separation, it was just I did not have people to talk to. Her husband wasn't talking to me the same because they were still, so people just assumed that I was an adult. And so nobody talked to me as if, what was going on, what was wrong. And when we got in the front of the house, he said, I'm gonna help you take your stuff in. I said, no, I can't let you do that. I knew that was wrong.
Right.
But he said, well, I'll wait for you. So he didn't charge me or anything. And something was just strange. I had some street smarts, but it just didn't
It didn't
grow to
click,
that.
right?
in that
You weren't
moment.
exposed enough to know the complete scenario.
Right. So when I came back outside to give him the money, he was like, "No, I'm good." He said, "Well, you just want to take a drive?" And in my mind, I don't know why I trusted him to go on a drive, because I did go on a drive, but I didn't know at the time what I was trusting him for. Like, why are you trusting this person? But he didn't seem like
wasn't
I
scary.
had great uncles that looked like him, so it didn't look strange to me because none of them had never done anything wrong to me. So on the ride, I knew I was in trouble. Something happened when we got like a couple blocks from the house. It just didn't feel like the same story. And we drove like the back way of Hilton Parkway. And in my mind, I'm like, how do I get out of this? Like, this is not feeling, it was too quiet. It was
safe.
too, right. I didn't feel safe at that point. And in my mind, I still went back to the point of, why did I trust him to begin with? And I still to this day, I could not answer that question because I don't know where mentally I was other than, oh, he just cool. He just a cool older dude. And I had met people like that my whole life. Like, crazy people are attracted to me. The craziest individuals are attracted to me as far as will just tell me their business. So I'm thinking that
maybe that's what's happening here.
But no, something just didn't feel right. So before anything happened, I just said to him, I was like, what are we doing here? And he just never would respond. He never got violent. He never got like disrespectful verbally in the car. And I just did not, I felt like I couldn't just jump out the car, and he dropped me off, but it was like in the middle of, Lincoln Park. This seems like is, and I don't know where I'm. It's just one road, and it just feel like there's no beginning, no end. I know how I got here, but how do I get out? So it was nobody walking. It was in the middle of a Saturday afternoon, so it was nobody like doing anything. And he let me out. He said, I'm gonna go park the car. So I'm like, this is my way out. But it wasn't like I could scream. Who was gonna hear me?
Right.
I didn't think anybody was there. So he went to park the car, and I'm thinking he just gonna leave me here. So I'm like, oh man, this is Lincoln Park. I knew what Lincoln Park was, but I was like, man, something's gonna happen. Like, what? I didn't, in my mind, I still didn't think he was going. I'm thinking he just like
left you.
Right, just left me because he realized I started asking questions. He just left. So I'm like, what is going? No, it was no cars driving by, nobody randomly walking, no park rangers, nothing. I'm thinking somebody's gonna come out. So I started walking.
He chose that spot. He'd done it before. He chose that spot on purpose.
And all this stuff didn't compute to me because then when I'm anxious, time just seemed like it stopped. And time just seemed like it stopped. I didn't know how I was gonna get out of this situation. We had drove a little bit, and Lincoln Park stretches all the way up Emerson Avenue. So it goes that whole back way. And I didn't know. I was like, how do I
don't even know where to go.
Right. And I knew how long it was for me to get either way, in either direction. And when I saw him come, like I don't know where he parked the car, but I saw him walking behind me, and I was like, oh man. So I just thought I was gonna have to fight. So I just was bracing myself, and as it was happening, my mind I didn't feel anything. I couldn't hear anything.
You just checked out.
Right, I did, and I saw like movement, but I just couldn't hear. I couldn't hear. I couldn't feel. Like it just felt like time had really stood still. And when we finished, it just felt like, so now what? Like, are you finished or are we done? And we walked to the car, and I remember him dropping me off. He didn't look. He didn't say anything. He didn't gesture. He didn't like, hey, see you later. Nothing. He just
pulled off,
unlocked the car, and pulled off. And when I saw him the second time, it was as if he thought it was going to happen again. And I just knew, no, stay where I'm at. Don't even go to that point, because if I let him get near me, it may get physical this time, because I knew what to expect this time. It wasn't like, and he knew I knew what to expect. So he would get physical. The only thing I can remember hearing him say is, the next time I'm gonna have to bring Vaseline. And I did not even imagine. And for some reason, that's the only thing that he may have said something else, but that's the only thing that I remember in that moment. And I knew it was nothing I could say, nothing I could do, but I felt like at this moment, like, you're technically a teenager. So who are you going to tell? There's one that's either not going to laugh or take it personal.
Right.
So that was one of the reasons why I never said anything. And I really went through like my whole 20s before I said anything. Because I think I was about 30 before I went to a therapist.
Wow.
And I never said it to anybody, but I always had friends that said it to me, and I would help them through it and help them find therapists and counselors. And even right now, even when I said it to the therapist, I didn't feel anything. And I know I don't think it affected me the way that it would typically affect somebody, because I always saw myself as being an adult. So I thought, what did I do to deserve this? Like, what did I do
that's invited this kind of behavior?
Him? Did I turn him on? Like, what did I do? And it really did translate to how I react to guys. I'm normally very strict with guys and very, not so much demanding, but it has to be my way.
Very clear cut lines.
Right. I don't try to mince words, and I'm very clear with what I'm saying to them. And I don't want to be your boss, but I have to keep control over that situation. And I've gotten better. Right. And exactly. Which the last role I played, that's one of the things was for that. I didn't have control. I did not have the control. So that's why I practiced what I was really focused on, what I was doing for that. But in hearing conversations and us talking online and just knowing each other, I saw somebody who was on the other side of what I was feeling, and I don't want people to be stuck in it, because I know how comfortable it is now to be able to talk about it and not feel shameful about it. You know, so I think I'm at a good place. I know I just never felt, I've always looked at it as a thing where I had to go through that, because it was something about my life that had to be a lesson for somebody else. But there are other people who don't see that lesson in it. And those are the people that I feel like I see them online. I reached out to the young lady in the video, the young lady that I met in California that came on the show. Like I'm attracted to that person because I see they are stuck. It's like a wall that they're hitting. And even in me telling
the Tell Somebody movement, girl.
Right.
I remember her.
And I could see how people want to be healed. And it was crazy because I always wanted to sit down and talk to my aunt, but I don't think she would receive it in the way that because she would automatically see her little brother went through something and instead of taking her story and realizing she can find some strength in what happened to me and that I'm able to deal with things. So that's kind of where I'm at. But we're going to take another quick break. I just dropped that bomb on these ladies. But we'll be right back after this quick break. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show on BeExposedRadio.com.
We're rewarding you for something you already do, listening to us. It's radio loyalty, and it's an easy way for you to get free stuff. All you do is sign up. Go ahead and click the banner now. You'll earn points as you listen. Points you can trade in for great products and services in the Radio Loyalty store. You can earn even more points when you share your favorite station with friends on Facebook and Twitter. Radio Loyalty. It's free to sign up. So click the banner to join now.
Check out what you missed on Be Exposed Radio.
I've been trying to get better at my freestyling. And apparently when I'm inebriated, my freestyling is legit. Okay. But when I'm sober, so I got to learn how to transition the inebriated TC into the sober TC so I can actually hold my own against some of these people. But Stella, you said you wanted to pick his brain about ghostwriting.
Yeah, dude, like seriously, how do you feel about it? You know, in the midst of this whole Drake and Quentin Miller thing, everybody started trying to write him off and everything. Me personally, I never cared for Drake, so I'm just gonna put that out there right now. Never cared for him, so it doesn't make or break him in my book.
I think with or without a ghostwriter, Drake is still one of the best rappers, not of all time, but you know, of this era. Right. I mean, you gotta, whether it be, you know, Take Care or, you know, anything he's put out before, like people, I think people don't understand the idea of ghostwriting. Just imagine you hot and you gotta stay hot, but in the midst of you trying to stay hot, you on tour, you on radio,
somebody
whatever.
Gotta pull up the
you
list,
got
right?
somebody that's literally like, and it's not even, most of the time it's not even writing all the bars. They got these reference tracks now and blah blah blah. Like with the ghostwriting joint, like I think we also have to understand that there's two different types of people in hip hop. You have your rappers and you have your MCs.
Check out Who Got Buzz every Tuesday night from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. right here on Be Exposed Radio.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the station with all the hits and the Talk Lately show weeknights at 7 p.m.
From north, east, south, and west, you're listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Artist Exchange Live.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Starts now.
Drug, alcohol, and gambling addiction can be devastating for you and your loved ones. Don't let the disease of addiction ruin everything.
One of the other brothers, gave him a hug. He was
We back
our,
on?
you know,
We back
minister.
on.
Well, I mean, I don't mind
Sorry about
sharing the
that.
story.
Yeah.
But one of our youth ministers, and I just gave him a hug. But like I said, I've looked like I was 25 since I was like 12. So I've always been a very shapely girl. So I hug him, you know, and I'm talking or whatever. And then afterwards, my mother pulled me to the side and very seriously, very in my face, don't you run your big dumb ass with your big dumb titties up in front of nobody. What is wrong with you? And I was like, where did that's not even like, it hadn't, that wasn't a world I lived in. I didn't understand why she was so angry, but it's because of
what she's saying.
What she has seen in her life. You will not be a victim. I will teach you how to make sure that no one thinks that they can take advantage of you.
But that needs to be a balance, because when you isolate a child or any person, the other side of that grass always looks greener.
Yeah,
and there's something about it, or
Right.
you just don't prepare them. That's not really,
And
preparing them.
that's where I was going. Is that as a teenager, I joined Planned Parenthood. They had a theater program where they enlisted teenagers to be part of their peer mentors. Oh, there's a specific word for it, and I can't. Peer mediators. That's what it is. So they take you through the whole thing. They train you on, you know, what to say, how to say it. And then we also had a theatrical element to it, which allowed us to really engage, because now we are talking as teenagers who didn't get the education and didn't have the right words. They didn't know the right thing to say. So at a very young age, well, I guess not really a young age, but as a teenager, I learned oh, okay, nah, bro, that's not happening. That's not, it goes down here. I don't have time for this. The situation is not good. I'm out. Peace. And it is, but I've also learned that, okay, not every situation is that. And you have to learn to assess. You have to, okay, what's happening here? This is, I know this person. I know this person this well. Maybe, you know, of 10, I may know them at a 5. You know, am I comfortable? Is this a place I want to be? I'm very, very leery. There are people who will tell you I get uncomfortable very quickly. And that's part of it. I will, oh, nope, this ain't even it. Nope, I'm out. I'll holler at y'all later. I'm not coming back. I'm gone. Like, you know, whatever. I can't, I get uncomfortable very quickly. But I think that having my mother and her fear of not my babies, right. And then having been a part of Planned Parenthood, where I was educated on the full scope, on the scientific side of sex, on the emotional side of sex, on the mental side, the mental health part, all of these things, Planned Parenthood thoroughly educated us. I was able to find a balance to say, it's okay, you know, this situation. So when I entered into sexual relationships, I was much more educated than the average teenager. And I believe that that's part of it for me. I appreciate my mother sharing her fears with me, because there are so many people, and I was actually having this conversation online the other day. It's why we end up with generations of teen mothers, generations of people who are molested, because you aren't sharing what happened to you. And there is no greater teacher. There is no substitute for experience, whether that experience was good or bad. Either way, the most successful people on the planet will tell you the things that they failed at first before they tell you about the things they succeeded.
So wrapping up this last segment, what are your thoughts? Because I see your mind is working,
always
is moving. So what are your final thoughts?
Well, again, I just encourage people to kind of engage in discussion. This was a very healthy therapeutic experience, information sharing, getting to know people better, understanding why people engage the way they engage. I encourage that kind of conversation. And, you know, find people who are willing to listen, because sometimes folks aren't necessarily willing to listen. But again, professional help is probably, without a doubt, probably the best in terms of just getting you care, especially if there's an emergency situation where someone's dealing with an episode which can be dangerous relative to kind of these things. Earlier we talked about talking to a therapist or someone who's not a therapist, and maybe that situation that you talked about getting worse.
Right.
Well, that's a part of it, but we have to be very cautious about even making that statement, because we want people to know you have to get professional help. If you're even experiencing these moments where you're like, what do I do with this now? And I don't know how to control this thought or feeling or what have you. Make certain that you try to get professional help. And there are some great therapists out there. And
don't get one that talks about themselves more than you.
Exactly. Fire them. I say fire your therapist, fire your doctor, fire your dentist, whomever it is.
Right. You are hiring them at that point.
Exactly. You are hiring. They're working partly because of you and your insurance or what have you. But you know, the other piece is, you know, we don't have all the answers, and we have a host of different issues, layers upon layers upon layers. I often say that everybody has a mental health problem. So we talked about the young lady who dealt with self-esteem issues. I decided a long time ago that everyone had self-esteem something when they were like a certain age, a certain part of their lives.
Right.
But to couple that with having such a tragic experience of being molested, that again, you mentioned, is another layer that we have to kind of deal with. So I just encourage people to continue to talk and to seek help. Definitely.
So we're definitely going to have part 2 of this conversation. If this not make her a routine guest on a monthly basis, because that's definitely something that I want to open up the door for, and getting help, and not just help, but just figuring out how do we collectively, creatively move forward,
right?
And not just keep sweeping these stories under the rug, and not just adding them to that box of family secrets. But I definitely want to continue this conversation. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll definitely get to that point again.
Thank you.
So we'll be back tomorrow at 12 p.m.
What time is that?
12 p.m.
12 p.m. you said?
12 p.m.
Okay.
12 p.m. here live on the Artist Exchange Radio Show. We'll have photographer Tiffany Jones and light artist. He actually creates art with light.
Oh, is he part of Light City?
He is.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Mr. Sean Kenny. He'll be here tomorrow. So we'll have that awesome duo with us. Stay tuned for more updates. Go to our Artist Exchange page on Facebook as well as our Twitter and Instagram, and find out all the happenings that are happening here and now and forevermore here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show. So see you guys later. Thank you for sharing and being shared. If you want to share any of your stories, definitely either hit us up. You can hit me up personally, or the hotline number, the National Sexual Assault Hotline number was 1-800-656-4673. That's 1-800-656-4673. They have some awesome people sitting there waiting to hear from you that with awesome resources. I've talked to them a lot this week, so definitely hit them up. They're waiting for you. So we'll see you tomorrow, 12 p.m.
Yep, 12 p.m. Check out this flashback of the Artist Exchange Radio Show on BeExposedRadio.com.